Class 11th Indian Economic Development Chapter 9 Environment and Sustainable Development Introduction. The economic development that we have achieved so far has come at a very heavy price, at the cost of environmental quality. As we step into an era of globalization that promises high economic growth, we have to bear in mind the adverse consequences of the past development path on our environment and consciously choose a path of sustainable development. To understand the unstable path of development that we have taken and the challenges of sustainable development, we have to first understand the significance and contribution of environment to economic development. Environment definition and functions. Environment is defined as the total planetary inheritance and the totality of all resources. It includes all the biotic and abiotic factors that influence each other. A study of environment then calls for a study of the interrelationship between the biotic and abiotic components of the environment. Functions of the environment. The environment performs four vital functions. It supplies resources. Resources here include both renewable and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources are those which can be used without the possibility of the resource becoming depleted or exhausted. That is, a continuous supply of the resource remains available. Non-renewable resources, on the other hand, are those which get exhausted with extraction and use. Further, it assimilates waste, it sustains life by providing genetic and biodiversity. It also provides aesthetic services like scenery, etc. Air pollution or water pollution, noise pollution or cholera. This is the situation today all over the world. The rising population of the developing countries and the affluent consumption and production standards of the developed world have placed a huge stress on the environment. Many resources have become extinct and the waste generated are beyond the absorptive capacity of the environment. Absorb- Absorptive capacity means the ability of the environment to absorb degradation. The result, we are today at the threshold of environmental crisis. The past development has polluted and dried up rivers and other aquifers, making water an economic good. Besides, the intensive and extensive extraction on both renewable and non-renewable resources has exhausted some of these vital resources, and we are compelled to spend huge amounts on technology and research to explore new resources. Added to these are the health cost of the degraded environmental quality. Decline in air and water quality have resulted in increased incidence of respiratory and waterborne diseases. Global warming. Global warming is a gradual increase in the average temperature of the Earth's lower atmosphere as a result of the increase in greenhouse gases since the Industrial Revolution. Much of the recent observed and projected global warming is human induced. It is caused by man made increases in carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases through the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation. Adding carbon dioxide, methane, and other such gases to the atmosphere with no other changes will make our planet's surface warmer. The atmospheric concentrations of carbon dioxide and CH4 have increased by 31% and 149% respectively above pre-industrial levels since 1750. During the past century, the atmospheric temperature has risen by 1.1 Fahrenheit at sea level has risen several inches. Some of the long-term results of global warming are melting of polar ice with a resulting rise in sea level and coastal flooding, disruption of drinking water supplies dependent on snowmelts, extinction of species as ecological niches disappear, more frequent tropical storms, and an increase in incidence of tropical diseases. Hence, environmental problems did not arise, but with population explosion and with advent industrial revolution to meet the growing needs of the expanding population things changed. The result was that the demanded for resources for both production and consumption went beyond the rate of regeneration of the resources. The pressure on the absorptive capacity of the environment increased tremendously. This trend continues even today. Thus, what has happened is a reversal of supply and demand relationship from environmental quality. We are now faced with increased demand for environmental resources and services, but their supply is limited due to overuse and misuse. Hence, the environmental issues of waste generation and pollution have become critical today. Ozone depletion. It refers to the phenomenon of reductions in the amount of ozone in the stratosphere. The problem of ozone depletion is caused by high levels of chlorine and bromine compounds in the stratosphere. The origin of these compounds are chlorofluorocarbons (CFCs) used as cooling substances in ACs and refrigerators, or as aerosol propellants, and bromofluorocarbons (halogens) used in fire extinguishers. As a result of depletion of ozone, more ultraviolet radiation comes to Earth and causes damage to living organisms. UV radiation seems responsible for skin cancer in humans. It also lowers production of phytoplankton and thus affects the aquatic organisms. It can also influence the growth of terrestrial plants. A reduction of approximately 5% in the ozone layer was detected from 1979 to 1990s. Since the ozone layer prevents most harmful wavelengths of UV light from passing through Earth's atmosphere, observed and projected decreases in ozone have generated worldwide concern. This led to the adoption of Montreal Protocol banning the use of CFC compounds as well as other ozone-depleting chemicals such as carbon tetrachloride, trichloroethane, also known as methyl chloroform, and bromine compounds such as halogens. State of India's environment. India has abundant natural resources in terms of rich quality of soil, hundreds of rivers and tributaries, lush green forests, plenty of mineral deposits beneath the land surface, vast stretch of the Indian Ocean, ranges of mountains, etc. The black soil of the Deccan Plateau is particularly suitable for cultivation of cotton, leading to concentration of textile industries in this region. The Indo-Gangetic Plains spread from Arabian Sea to the Bay of Bengal are one of the most fertile, intensively cultivated and densely populated regions in the world. India's forests, though unevenly distributed, provide green cover for a majority of its population and natural cover for its wildlife. Large deposits of iron ore, coal, and natural gases are found in the country. India alone accounts for nearly 20% of the world's total iron ore reserves. Bauxite, copper, chromate, diamonds, gold, lead, lignite, manganese, zinc, uranium, etc. are also available in different parts of the country. However, in the developmental activities in India have resulted in pressure on its finite natural resources besides creating impacts on human health and well-being. The threat to India's environmental poses a dichotomy threat of poverty-induced environmental degradation and, at the same time, threat of pollution from affluence and a rapidly growing industrial sector. Air pollution, water contamination, soil erosion, deforestation, and wildlife extinction are some of the most pressing environmental concerns of India. The priority issues identified are land degradation, biodiversity loss, air pollution, management of fresh water, and solid waste management. Land in India suffers from varying degrees and types of degradation, stemming mainly from unstable use and inappropriate management practices. Some of the factors responsible for land degradation are loss of vegetation occurring due to deforestation, unsustainable fuel, food and fodder extraction, shifting cultivation, e- encroachment into forest lands, forest fires and overgrazing, non-adoption of adequate soil conservation measures, improper crop rotation, indiscriminate use of agrochemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides, improper planning and management of irrigation systems, extraction of groundwater in excess of the recharge capacity, open access resource, and poverty of the agricultural dependent people. India supports approximately 17% of the world's human and 20% of livestock population on a mere 2.5% of the world's geographical area. The high density of population and livestock and the competing uses of land for forestry, agricultural, pastures, human settlements and industries exert an enormous pressure on the country's finite and land resources. The per capita forest land in the country is only 0.08 hectare against the requirement of 0.47 hectare to meet basic needs, resulting in an excess felling of about 15 million cubic meter forest over the permissible limit. Pollution control boards. In order to address two major environmental concerns in India, water and air pollution, the government set up the Central Pollution Control Board (CPCB) in 1974. This was followed by states establishing their own state-level boards to address all environmental concerns. They investigate, collect, and disseminate information relating to and air, air, and land pollution. Lay down standards for sewage, trade, effluent, and emissions. These boards provide technical assistance to governments in promoting cleanliness of streams and wells by prevention, control, and abatement of water pollution and improve the quality of air and to prevent, control, or abate air pollution in the country. These boards also carry out and sponsor investigation and research relating to problems of water and air pollution and further prevention, control, or abatement. They also organize through mass media a comprehensive mass awareness program for the same. The PCPs prepare manuals, codes, and guidelines relating to treatment and disposal of sewage and trade effluents. They assess the air quality through regulation of industries. In fact, state boards through their district level officials periodically inspect every industry under their jurisdiction to assess the adequacy of treatment measures provided to treat the effluent and gaseous emissions. Sustainable development. Environment and economy are interdependent and need each other. Hence, development that ignores its repercussions on the environment will destroy and the environment will sustain life forms. What is needed is sustainable development. Development that will allow all future generations to have a potential average quality of life that is at least as high as that which is being enjoyed by the current generation. The concept of sustainable development was emphasized by the United Nations Conference on Environmental and Development (UNCED), which defined it as development that meets the need of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. The present generation can promote development that enhances the natural and built environment in ways that are compatible with conservation of natural assets, prevention of the regenerative capacity of the world's natural ecological system, avoiding the imposition of added cost or risk on future generations. According to Herman Daly, a leading environmental economist, to achieve sustainable development, the following needs to be done. Limit the human population to a level within the carrying capacity of the environment. Technological progress should be input efficient and not input consuming. Renewable resources should be extracted on a sustainable basis. For non-renewable resources, rate of depletion should not exceed the rate of creation of renewable substitutes. Inefficiencies arising from population should be corrected. Strategies for sustainable development. Use of non-conventional sources of energy. India is usually dependent on thermal and hydropower plants to meet its power needs. Both of these have adverse environmental impacts. Thermal power plants emit large quantities of carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. It also produces fly ash, which, if not used properly, can cause pollution of water bodies, land, and other components of environment. Hydroelectric projects inundate forests and interfere with natural flow of water in catchment areas and river basins. Wind power and solar rays are good example of conventional but cleaner and greener sources but are not yet been explored on a large scale due to lack of technological devices. LPG, gobar gas in rural areas. Households in rural areas generally use wood, dung cake or other biomass as fuel. This practice has several adverse implications like deforestation, reduction in green cover, wastage of cattle dung, and air pollution. To rectify the situation, subsidized LPG is being provided. In addition, gobar gas plants are being provided through easy loans and subsidy. As far as LPG is concerned, it is a clean fuel. It reduces household pollution to a large extent. Also, energy wastage is minimized. For the gas plant to function, cattle dung is fed to the plant and gas is produced, which is used as fuel, while the slurry which is left over is very good organic fertilizer and soil conditioner. CNG in urban areas. In Delhi, the use of CNG is as a fuel in public transport system has significantly lowered air pollution and the air has become cleaner in the last few years. Wind power. In areas where speed of wind is usually high, windmills can provide electricity without any adverse impacts on the environment. Wind turbines can move with the wind and electricity is generated. No doubt the initial cost is high, but the benefits are such that the high cost gets easily absorbed. Solar power through photovoltaic cells. India is naturally endowed with a large quantity of solar energy in the form of sunlight. We use it in different ways. With the help of photovoltaic cells, solar energy can be converted into electricity. These cells use special kind of materials to capture solar energy and then convert the energy into electricity. This technology is extremely useful for remote areas and for places where supply of power through grid or power lines is either not possible or proves very costly. This technique is also totally free from pollution. Mini hydel plants. In mountainous regions, streams can be found almost everywhere. A large percentage of such streams are perennial. Mini hydel plants use the energy of such streams to move small turbines. The turbines generate electricity which can be used locally. Such power plants are more or less environment friendly as they do not change the land use pattern in areas where they are located. They generally generate enough power to meet local demands. This means that they can also do away with the need for large scale transmission towers and cables and avoid transmission loss. Traditional knowledge and practices. Traditionally, Indian people have been close to their environment. They have been far more competent on the environment and not its controller. If we look back at our agriculture system, healthcare system, housing, transport, etc., we'd find that all practices have been environment friendly. Only recently have we drifted from the traditional systems and caused large scale damage to the environment and also our rural heritage. Now it is time to go back. One apt example is in healthcare. India is very much privileged to have 15,000 species of plants which have medicinal properties. About 8,000 of these are in regular use in various systems of treatment, including the folk tradition. With the sudden onslaught of the Western system of treatment, we are ignoring our traditional systems such as Ayurveda, Unani, Tibetan, and folk systems. These healthcare systems are in great demand again for treating chronic health problems. Nowadays, every cosmetic procedure, hair oil, toothpaste, body lotion, face cream, and whatnot is herbal in composition. Not only are these products environment friendly, they are relatively free from side effects and do not involve large scale industrial and chemical processing. By composting. In our quest to increase agricultural production during the last 5 decades or so, we almost totally neglected the use of compost and completely switched over to chemical fertilizers. The result is that large tracts of productive land have been adversely affected. Water bodies, including the groundwater system, have suffered due to chemical contamination, and demand for irrigation has been going up year after year. Farmers in large numbers all over the country have again started using compost made from organic waste of different types. In certain parts of country, cattle are maintained only because they produce dung, which is an important fertilizer and soil conditioner. Earthworms can convert organic matter into compost faster than the normal composting process. This process is now widely being used. Indirectly, the civic authorities are benefited too as they have to dispose reduced quantity of waste. Biopest control. With the advent of green revolution, the entire country entered into a frenzy to use more and more chemical pesticides for higher yield. Soon the adverse impacts began to show. Food products were contaminated, soil, water bodies, and even groundwater were polluted with pesticides. Even milk, meat, and fishes were found to be contaminated. To meet this challenge, efforts are on to bring in better methods of pest control. One such step is to use of pesticide based on plant products. Neem trees are proving to be quite useful. Several types of pest controlling chemicals have been isolated from neem and these are being used. Mixed cropping and growing different crops is consecutive years on the same land have also helped farmers. Conclusion. Economic development which aimed at increasing the production of goods and services to meet the needs of rising population puts greater pressure on the environment. In the initial stages of development, the demand for the environmental resource was less than that of supply. Now the world is faced with increased demand for environmental resource, but their supply is limited due to overuse and misuse. Sustainable development aims at promoting the kind of development that minimizes environmental problems and meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs.